The stories contained in this podcast are the recollections of the guests we've invited onto the show. We are an outlet for people to share their truths, and we accept no legal responsibilities for the stories contained herein.
I'm Kendra Sheets.
And I'm Rich Gill.
And this is Enough, a podcast that aims to shine light into the darkened corners of the music industry while discussing the ways we can and should improve ourselves and, in turn, our community. Welcome back to another episode of the Enough podcast.
I am one of your hosts, Rich Gill.
And I am your other host, Kendra Sheets.
The guests we have today are members of a band that we're very excited to talk to. One of the things that, for longtime listeners of the podcast, that you probably hear us talk about is how impressed we are with the younger generation of upcoming bands like Gen Z and younger, and how outspoken they are about social justice and things that are important to them, and speaking out about assault and abuse in the music scene, and just how it sort of like gives us hope about how things will hopefully go after the kind of dumpster fire of the last few years. Not to,
and the next few years too, probably.
And the next
really,
few
right?
Years. Yeah. But it sort of occurred to us that we talk about this all the time, but we've never really talked to younger people on the podcast. It's always people our age or older. So I saw a band play maybe 2 months ago at the record store that I'm at, and the second song it was, I think the singer was like, this is a song about how much we hate pedophiles and how they ruin families. And I texted Kendra immediately, and I was like, Kendra, I think I found the band. Like, we need to talk to them. This is fucking awesome. So after numerous emails back and forth, we are very happy to have two members of Operating System Offline with us today, Carter and Dylan. So if the two of you would like to introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about yourselves, about the band, and how you kind of have gotten involved in indie, alt-punk, whatever you want to call it, music.
Sure, Dylan, I'll let you go first.
Okay, I'm Dylan. I'm 17. I use any pronouns. I've been pretty into like punk and just alternative music for a while, like since maybe I was 12 or 13. And within like the past year or two, I've gotten really, really involved in the local scene. Like I go to a lot of shows at Treedom and in the cities with my brother. But I guess just the outspokenness has appealed to me. So yeah, that's kind of my deal.
My name is Carter. I use he, him pronouns. I play guitar for Operating System Offline. I'm not good enough for vocals. Me and the drummer, Katrina, initially founded the band with a couple other people, and it just kind of fell out. So we were looking for some new people to fill in the gaps, and that's where Dylan came along, as well as Cora. She's not here, but she plays the bass and does some backup vocals and other guitar stuff. I've been kind of influenced by the music for a few years, like Dylan has been, probably 3 or 4. I've always just been interested in the music that actually meant something. I feel like a lot of the music that's in the most current scenes just doesn't have that same message and strength behind it, and that's why I always resonated with some of the other alternative rock, punk, metal, all that kind of stuff.
I don't want to harp on the age thing, but there's quite a bit of an age difference between myself and Kendra and you two. But the reasons that we got involved and became interested in punk or like harder music are the same. Like that's just
same.
Like a universal thing that hasn't changed since like the 30 years ago that we were kind of getting into this kind of stuff. It's really cool to know that same spirit is still out there.
Yeah, I feel like that's a universal thing with just punk genres in specific, just how people resonate with it. It's a message.
As you're kind of getting out and playing more shows and connecting with local bands and stuff, do you sort of like search out bands that are like sort of have your same beliefs or like ideologies? And have you found any like people maybe not taking you as seriously because you're so young, or like kind of being super supportive and respectful of you just starting out and make your way in this scene.
Yeah. Surprisingly, people have been actually pretty down to earth and respectful with us as a group. I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's more surprising,
Yeah.
especially considering our age and especially the music that we play. People probably think we're too young to understand some of this stuff, but it's simply not true.
Punk, I mean, it's a young person's thing, it's for everyone, but that's when you like a lot of people really get into it when you're young, and it has that youthful energy.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like a lot of people don't always grasp that concept, especially as they get older. They think that this kind of music is just like a phase and they'll grow out of it or whatever. I feel like as you grow older, the less. And this isn't no mean to insult you guys in any way for your age, but I feel like as the more you grow older, the more you kind of like move away from all that stuff. And
We've talked about this before. Like prior to COVID, I was going to shows like 5 nights a week. And then COVID kind of just like took the wind out of my sails. And now I'm very like particular with where I choose to spend my time. But I also have a lot more going on. But I'm still listening to the music. I'm just not engaging with it like actively and live in the same way that I was before. And I think that comes with age too. Like you get more and more responsibilities. Like I would go to like 5 or 6 shows and I'd see like one guy that I saw like twice a month. I'm like, oh, he's going out to his like monthly show. And now I'm lucky to like leave the house like every 2 weeks to do anything. But I also think that what you say is correct. Like if you are interested in all of the subject matter and the social justice issues that are discussed in political punk or in some of these alternative genres at a young age, you're not going to phase out of that most likely, because it's something where the younger you are and the more it strikes a chord with you, the more I think that you just kind of care about that through the rest of your life, and you find a way to engage in that in some way, whether it's music or you end up changing your career completely to do something in a social justice realm. And I'm smiling because I'm finishing grad school because I completely shifted my career over the last 2 years to do more social justice work. So
there's some people who listen to punk music and have no idea that there's messages behind it. I don't know how or why, but I feel like in recent years, especially with COVID, a lot of the music scene in public has died out. And it's good around our local area, at least. People are beginning to branch out and have these venues set up for people like us to play at. But
for me, at least, the political messaging that, I've gotten from punk and like it like inspired me to do all of this research on how bad our systems are in the United States and how racist our prison system is and how like debilitating capitalism is. It's like opening my eyes to this truth. And it's like I don't think I'll ever forget that and like go out of my left-wing ways. And it's all inspired by, the music that I was getting into in like 7th and 8th grade. It just feels like such an integral part of me. And I don't think I'll grow out of it ever.
I think music opens that like realm up to people. I mean, for me at least, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago, I started to delve into some of the heavier music, just stuff that undermined our systems in the United States specifically, and I think it was just very eye-opening for me. So I feel like that kind of music is also like a gateway for people to actually like discover some of the actual injustices and actual like problems, not just in our country, of course, but in the entire world. And that's how it was for me, at least.
As a younger band with multiple genders.
He means not just straight white guys like most
Exactly.
punk bands of the age of like 35 plus.
It was very prevalent. And I mean, in a lot of ways still is. In like the older generation, there's rampant sexism in how they look at other bands sometimes. Have you encountered any of that or seen any of that? It sounds like you've been lucky enough where everyone's just been super supportive, which is great.
From what I've seen, I've experienced not a whole lot of that with my band, but going to shows and the way that the pits are structured is like, it depends on where you go, but it can be very, very, very hostile to like a female presenting person or just women in general. Literally the other night, I was at a show in Minneapolis, and this dude, I wasn't even like in the pit. I was like kind of like more near the wall because I could tell that I would not be looking good if I went in there. But this dude, he was like 40 and he was super tall and like buff, and I'm 5'1", 100 pounds, and he just like shoulder checks me in my collarbone, and I'm like, what was that for? And like when I was at that show, I could just kind of tell that a good handful of those people have probably roundhouse kicked a girl in the face, that wasn't a part of anything. And I see that online all the time, just videos of these grown men targeting teenage girls at shows. A lot of the times they're not even in the pit. They like want nothing to do with it, obviously, and they just get kicked in the face. And I feel like that physical power over women at shows is extremely prevalent. Like you can tell who is kind of misogynistic just by how they maneuver themselves.
It's almost like you can feel that there's a energy difference between like quote unquote like safe shows versus ones where it's like, oh, I know this is going to be a little off.
I remember when I was going to shows, and I would say probably in my teens, because at the time I was going up to Chicago, where I live now, a lot when I was younger. And I would go to shows, and I remember one time pit opened up. I was on one side of it, like almost like one person in, or like kind of like a shoulder in, just safe enough where I felt like if like the wave of people came, I could like grab onto another person as a tiny young person. And some big aggressive dude, one of the ones that loves to like stomp, the ones who do like the arms and the stomping at the same time, and you're just like, okay, you're coordinated, but like keep that away from me. He saw me on like the edge of the pit, ran towards me with his bald head, hit me in the side, and said, "That's your initiation," and ran away.
Oh my God.
And I was like, did you think you took like my pit virginity? Like, it was such a weird like thing. But it was just such like a weird thing to say. It was such a like a power thing, like, I did this to you, and now you do with that what you will. You're just like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, that's so weird.
Yeah, it's super weird.
I'm not super like into the pit kind of stuff, but online specifically, like you mentioned, Dylan, I've seen a lot of that stuff where they kind of like pick on women. I don't really get it at all. I don't get it at all, to be honest with you, but I definitely have seen it. But to go back to your question about the kind of gender roles in the band, I was at a specific place, and they asked like what I do for hobbies or whatever. I mentioned I'm in a band, and then they got to asking about some of our members, and then it got down to like, oh, all men, all women, and I was like, all women, but we also have another drummer coming in soon, because our drummer currently, Katrina, she's leaving for college soon here, so we have a backup drummer filling in the gaps in a couple months here. But I mentioned that, and I didn't hear, like, there were no words exchanged, but I could just feel that something was being judged. It doesn't happen often. This was a one-off occurrence, but it just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, especially nowadays. But back in the 90s, like, more of those female-fronted bands were becoming more prevalent. But even in today's time, like when what was it, Linkin Park, when their lead singer got replaced by a girl vocalist, everybody to this day is still just like tearing her to pieces just because she can't live up to what was it, Chester Bennington? Just because they're not like the same person, quote unquote. But it's honestly mostly because she's a girl. It's a fine line, and it happens all the time, even today, sadly.
We don't really boast ourselves as a female-fronted band. Like, after our last show, when we opened for Spoiler Alert, there was one woman on the bass, but, it was a male-fronted band, and I was like, we sure do have a lot of girls.
You're basically always swimming against the tide when you're not like a white male in so many aspects of life, but specifically in the music industry, all the way down to like punk and some of the alternative culture, just because it is a microcosm of society, and it does focus on the same things that larger scale society focuses on. With punk, with indie, with all of these genres becoming more inclusive in general, people in a way kind of have to take accountability because they have to recognize the fact that things were not this way before. So we have to recognize what it is before we're willing to change it. Why do you think that genres like anything alt, indie, based in like rebellion and justice, why do you think they have such an issue with this kind of misogyny and these accountability, I guess the issue of taking accountability for the way things are or the way they want things to be?
Majority of men that I have met and talked to have at least one little speck, not saying that all of them do, but like just at least a little bit of misogyny within them, because that's just how men are taught in our society. And I feel like a lot of people will refuse to introspect and look at what they were taught when they were kids and like how they've been raised and like how that affected them and how it affects other people around them. A lot of people don't really want to do that. They just want to say, fuck off, let me do my thing, you know? It's just so incredibly ingrained in especially American male society that women are lesser or are meant to be objects or only supposed to be sexualized and nothing else. And I feel like it's just the fact of like these subgenres and these genres getting more popularized and put into a bigger population. And it will take a long time and a lot of work to fully get rid of sexism and like misogyny and all of this, but nobody really wants to do that work. So, you know, it won't really happen, at least for a while. Like in a perfect society, maybe, but
To be fair, a lot of people don't even like realize that they're being misogynistic or sexist, and that's the worst part. I feel like even if the artist is very outspoken about it, I feel like the audience can have that like lost in translation kind of thing, and it just doesn't come across to them. Even if they're being completely outspoken, it'll always happen with that audience, and then the audience just keeps spreading it, and it just kind of never stops.
The most important thing is to just be as mindful as possible and to introspect and really think about what you do and how it affects other people.
And I think also if someone tells you like, hey, you did this to me, a natural response is always to kind of protect yourself. Like, I didn't do that. I didn't mean that. I wasn't trying to be mean, but you're like almost, you know, kind of cutting them off. Whereas the way of accountability is to listen to what they said, that how you made them feel or the thing that you said, and then basically be aware of that, apologize for your behavior, and then move forward learning something so you don't do this again down the line, because there's no growing if you don't have any sort of learned behavior that's able to be changed.
When we were coming up, there was no mental health wasn't really something that was talked about a lot.
Not openly.
Not openly, no. There was no being taught about what consent is, what it looks like. Growing up through that, do you sort of see the differences in those things with like the older generation versus younger people?
Growing up, like I knew my parents didn't really talk about much mental health wise. And I mean, my mom's been through therapy and stuff, so she's like a little more hip with it. But like I definitely noticed that older generations are much more closed off about it, and they have like this feeling of like shame around it. And I definitely saw that within my parents and like with like my family members. But like I've seen it get better within my family with my parents and stuff. Part of that is because of a lot of things that happened, like regarding me and my mental health and like traumatizing events when I was in early middle school, like stuff like that. Because one of my friends passed away when I was in 6th grade from suicide, and that's when there was such a stark change within my parents' behavior around my mental health. I mean, I wasn't very open to it at the time, but my mom tried to get me into therapy and they brought me to the doctor about everything and whatever. And like still at the time, there was a lot of progress that they needed to make, but I feel like they've gotten a lot better throughout the years and now understand stuff like that a lot more. Just from when my friend passed away to now and like a couple of months ago. I mean, I will say this, I am bipolar, right? So my parents had to learn a lot through that. I mean, I guess at first they struggled with my mood and like accepting that I had a very severe mental illness. I can say that they've grown a lot and I appreciate that they put in like the effort to grow. So yeah, that's just my experience.
Everything you just said is exactly like what I mean about like it's just part of normal conversation. Like you were very open about that, which someone my age, if we were having the same conversation, more than likely wouldn't be as open about it. Maybe now because it's, we talk about it more.
At your late teens, you're leaps and bounds ahead of people that I know that are like 35 to 40 when it comes to some of the things that we're talking about, which is phenomenal and awesome.
I mean, even with me, it did take a lot to even start talking about it with my parents or my doctors because of the way that I grew up, and I was a very anxious child. So I thought that if I made myself as small as possible, then everybody would like me and I would be able to exist. So it kind of took a lot to overcome that. But I mean, I'm glad that I was able to do that at a younger age and not when I'm an adult and trying to, move through the motions of life.
I'm very grateful to be in a time like that where, mental health, just even in public areas, is just more accepted widely. Like I feel very sorry for you two to live in a it sounds very gruesome, but like it would just be awful to live in a time without that kind of talk being acceptable, because a lot of people suffered and passed away in silence of their mental well-being, and I'm very grateful that it's different nowadays. It's still not full circle, it's still not perfect across the board, nothing will be, but it is definitely good to see that happening more.
Yeah, it sucked to go through that,
but also like we didn't know
right.
that we were missing out on anything because it wasn't an option for us. So we just thought This is how life is. And I think with you both too, like there'll be things when you reflect back where the next generation, when you talk to people that are 20 plus years your junior, you'll realize like, oh, wow, okay, it's just the trajectory of like how society is going to function. They're just going to continue to grow and adapt and hopefully grow in the right direction where it's going to be more feasible for people to function openly with as much care to their body and their mind as possible at all times. But I don't know that the Medicare cuts are going to help that out at all. But anyway.
Well, and there's always going to be people who do not have access to that. And so there's always going to be people, suffering silently, which there was a lot more of when we were younger, and both Kendra and I have lost multiple people. The hope is just that, that gets less and less as the next generation and the generation after that come up.
The conversations become so normalized now where you tell someone like, hey, sorry, I didn't text you back for 3 weeks. I was going through like a really bad depressive spell. I would have never said that to someone when I was 16, when I was going through like years worth of depression, because we didn't have the language to speak to it that way. It wasn't readily available to that was doctor language. Depression was a doctor word. Like we didn't really say you're like, I don't feel good. I feel sad. And with additional education, now we're able to speak to the actual ways that we were feeling. And now we're able to be more open as a society, which while we can't always provide people with the care that they need, just the ability to talk openly with another person is exceedingly healing. And to experience music and have music basically in some way reflect your thoughts or feelings is exceedingly healing.
Yeah, definitely.
Which brings me to the song that Rich heard that I want to talk about.
Look at that segue.
Well, I want to know more about it. I want to know I think, Carter, you had said something about it where, people have an assumption that because of your ages, they assume that you don't really have a full understanding about what your lyrics are sharing with the band or what your experiences are. So in regards to the anti-pedophile song, I think most people can openly agree that pedophilia is a negative thing. However, there's some stuff in the news right now where some people are apparently in a gray area, and I'm not really sure why, but okay.
Yeah,
I don't
or
want
the
to
president.
Yeah, I
Oh
don't
my
want to start
God.
chanting "release the files," but I'll start chanting "release the files" if I have to. So I'd love to get more information about is the song that was written, is it a personal issue? Is it something that you feel just urgently had to be said? It was something that you wanted to just say overall because it was right to
Worth
do,
saying.
and a commentary that's worth making. What was the kind of mentality behind writing the song?
I mean, I guess the song is kind of just addressed to all pedophiles, especially the one that is in the White House. But but it's a specific thing inspired it, a familial issue. Oh my Lord, it's a juicy story. But it's written about specifically one person who I will not name because I don't want to get sued. But it's kind of addressed to all pedophiles and all child molesters and people like that. But a family member of mine, so she has a really, really bad dating track record. All of her exes are pieces of shit, and they only last not even a year. But usually she brings her new boyfriends around to have our family meet them because she's usually convinced that it'll work out that time. But not true. One day she brings over her new boyfriend and my family meets him. We get a weird vibe from him, but we're kind of just okay, whatever. We'll be cautious around this dude. And my grandma ends up looking him up to see if he has a criminal record. And he was charged for child pornography possession. I believe it was 30 counts of it, and all of it was children that were prepubescent, and the youngest one was 4 years old. And so my family was outraged. And immediately my parents, they call this family member and are chewing her out because she brought him over to our house where we have an 11-year-old. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a little sister. At the time she was 10, and she was in the room with him. She sat next to him on the couch, and it was so and she knew about all of this stuff.
She
and
knew
his
about
criminal
it?
record. Yes, and she brought him
Oh my God.
Yeah.
to our house. Yeah. And it was crazy. And when they were on the phone, she was making up every single excuse, every single bullshit thing that you could say, he's traumatized. He doesn't know how they got there. He doesn't and eventually it came to a head where she said that if our family didn't accept her boyfriend, then our family didn't accept her. And that was that. She's estranged now. We don't talk to her at all.
Is she still with him?
Yes.
This is the one she should break up with the most.
That's what we said. And she was like, I don't see it that way. And it's I don't know how you can have empathy for that kind of person. And who knows if he has touched anybody? I mean, I guess nothing has come up, but children can be scared into keeping secrets.
Happens all the time.
Adults can be scared into
Adults
keeping
can be scared
secrets.
into, yeah.
Literally anyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she kept saying they were only videos, so it's fine. But, children had to be raped for those videos to be made.
There were actual people on the other side of that. Yeah. Even if he didn't do it himself, someone was.
Yeah, and he's putting money into this, which keeps the system going.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
It's not a harmless crime. And so it was a very interesting time. And then this family member kept texting my little sister and trying to get her to be on her side. And like she would secretly come over to our house, not with her boyfriend, but like still she's proven herself to be a dangerous person. And so my parents blocked this family member on my little sister's phone, and none of us talked to her, and they like talked to my little sister and were like, she's not a good person. Like she's trying to manipulate you. She put you in danger, literally.
Dylan, can I mention the thing about the shirts that we did?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Do you think I can do that? Well, okay. So this is gonna be a good one. We got these shirts made for the new song that we were talking about right now, with the front cover of it and then a back graphic. We have them up for sale, and this family member bought one of the shirts without knowing anything about the song. Like,
what?
Like they have no idea that the song is about their boyfriend, husband, boyfriend.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It was crazy. I literally like fell back in my chair almost laughing. I'm like, oh God.
Oh wow.
It'll be so funny if she wears that around.
Mm-hmm.
Like she hasn't come to any of the shows, I don't think.
I hope
And
not.
that song was kind of made to like deter her away from us. But also just like it's a good message, and it's good to tell the public to be aware, because literally they could be anybody, and like you never know. But it was a little ironic to see her donation to along with the
Oh yeah,
shirt.
yeah. She also donated like $50 on top of the shirt order. Forgot to mention that. So she was one of the only people who donated extra money on top of buying the shirt that was completely against her and her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Do you think part of the donation thing, or even buying the shirt, sort of like a guilt thing, or not even like a guilt thing, but to try to get back into your good graces? It's like, hey, look what I did. I'm supporting you. I'm not that bad.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, like she is quite the manipulative person. I mean, on my birthday, she gave me $50 and a card, and I left the card on the countertop at my grandparents' house and took the money. I'll take the money, but not your love. Like, but oh my God.
I'm not gonna like leave money. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did the shirt say? Was it just a graphic, or were there like lyrics or?
I designed the shirt. The front. Well, I didn't design the initial graphic. Basie, our graphic designer, did that, but it has like a face kind of like shrouded away in this little like box, kind of like a Windows tab on like a computer, and it says "Have You No Shame" on the side. That's the title of the song, "Have You No Shame," and on the back it says "The sun will not shine for you."
Oh, it's so good.
That's so good.
It was just hilarious that the guy's girlfriend bought it.
Well, hopefully one day she can wear it with pride and understanding once they've broken up and she's realized like this is not the person she should be spending time with.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I don't think our family will really ever welcome her back because of the situation that she put my little sister in. If they were left alone in the room, who knows what would have happened, and knowingly doing that to your own family is like, oh my Lord.
To go back to the meaning of the song, I was thinking about it this way. I feel like, yeah, there's answers for us as a band, but I feel like as the consumer, I feel like you can interpret it however way you want. Like if it's an issue towards specifically the band and mutual family members, or if it's like as a society thing, I feel like you can interpret it whatever way you want, as long as you're getting the message across.
Well, it is such a universal thing at this point where, if you haven't yourself experienced sexual assault, you definitely know someone who has. Like, that's how prevalent it is. So it's something that everyone can relate to.
Yeah.
Very true.
I just keep spinning in my head because I spend a lot of time listening to one podcast, and it's definitely not this one. You guys might be too young to know, but a long time ago in the 90s, there was a man named Chris Hansen, and he was on Dateline, and he did a segment which eventually turned into a consistent segment on the show called To Catch a Predator. And now he actually has a podcast where he goes back. It's called Predators I've Caught. And he goes back in each episode. He talks about one of the people that like they've caught through the show. And he's had different versions of the show over the last so many years. There's like licensing and branding issues when they got kicked off of Dateline and whatever.
I think he's on YouTube now, and it's called...
Yeah.
He's got True Blue. He has his own channel.
Yes.
I listen to a lot of Chris Hansen. I listen to like 3 years worth of podcasts, and that man does one every single week about a predator. And like, there's at least like 2 more years to go until I catch up. But one of the things that he kind of always compares is like, it's kind of like a substance use issue, right? Like, it's like a person who can be in recovery. They're a person who something happened to them. This is the result of that thing. And unless they're actively going through some sort of therapy to correct the initial traumatic event or whatever it was that created this pedophilia instinct, they're likely to revisit it over and over again. And it might be something where they're actually, watching videos. It might be something where they're chatting online with people, with decoys, with whoever it is, posing like they're young children. And it might be something where they actually show up in like a meet type situation. And they could go into years and years of kind of recovery. And then something could happen, just like alcoholic, falling off the wagon. They get triggered and something happens and basically they're back out there doing the thing again. So I would be a lot less concerned about someone who has a substance use history than somebody who has a history of pedophilia. Just personally.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Just personally.
I was talking to my therapist about this issue, and she was telling me about her master's in psychology or whatever. And she had to do this course on sexual predators and pedophiles, and it's like been scientifically proven that pedophiles can't change their ways. They're just like forever attracted to children, which is crazy. And like, and I think pedophiles are bad people, like every single one of them. You cannot be attracted to children and be a good person. But it's like, damn, you're set up for failure.
Yeah.
Like,
it's part of like breaking the cycle, right? Like someone in this line, if it's like a familial line, and like, let's say you have, a father who ends up, sexually abusing or assaulting his son. And then you've got a situation, or where someone in the family or someone, in the neighborhood did this to this person when they were young, and this becomes a core traumatic event. And then that's kind of what triggers the interest in younger kids. That person, if they want to basically break the cycle of abuse, they have to ensure that they never, ever do the thing that they are wanting to do based on their attraction. Because as soon as they act on that, they're instantaneously traumatizing someone else to go through similar cycles. And that's how it just keeps spreading. Someone in the line has to basically be strong enough to never act on their desires, which as humans, we're not really great at, unfortunately.
Yeah. In this aspect, it is so incredibly important to not act on it. Like,
correct.
At this point, just castrate yourself. To do that to somebody, to pass on that trauma,
right,
is devastating to lives, and it's not worth it ever. The situation with my family member, the guy that she's dating, so he comes from an extremely wealthy family, and he's white. His sentencing was only 2 years.
What?
Look at my jaw. My jaw stay right in place when you've said all of that.
Yeah, like,
honestly.
Sadly, not surprising.
Yeah.
It's just so upsetting to see, like, a horrible person like him get out so fast comparatively to other people. Like, not saying that it's worse because he's white, but it's the same crime.
Right.
Yeah.
And it gets handled completely differently based on, like, income and race.
Well, we talk about, intersectionality when it comes to like abuse and stuff, but it goes the other way too, like the intersectionality of coming from a privileged background, having money, being white, being male, like all of that adds up to, oh, we don't want to ruin his life because of one mistake of raping that unconscious girl. Like,
yeah,
he had such promise. Brock Turner. exactly what was alluding to.
Yeah, it sounded just like him, so.
Yeah, just because he was an athlete doesn't mean that he shouldn't,
Face consequences.
yeah, for a crime that he committed.
I don't know about you guys. I watch a lot of body cam footage. That's just my thing. It's
I
interesting to me.
that's one of my like we talk about late night reels on like Instagram and stuff. For some reason that stuff always comes up for me at like 1 o'clock in the morning when I'm just like mindlessly scrolling reels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. But seeing the way police handle a white individual, not just in the cases of pedophilia or rape, just seeing the differences between white people being handled this way and African American people being handled this way. Like I've simply seen people, African American, as a woman in specific, Sonia Massey. I don't know if you guys have heard of her. She was shot and killed in her home.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, by police.
That was here in Illinois, wasn't it?
Yeah,
so.
yeah, I believe it was in
Yeah.
Illinois.
I think it was Southern Illinois.
Yeah, and she called the police for help,
Yeah.
and they ended up shooting her for boiling some water, and they immediately felt threatened, like right off the bat. You just don't see that with white people, you know?
Yeah.
In Minnesota, there was this case of a older white man with a knife who grabbed onto a police car window and was trying to stab the police officer in the car, arrested without being shot. That same day, there was another in Minnesota, as this has happened so many times like in recent years, a black man was killed at like a traffic stop with no weapon or anything. So
Yeah.
That's insane.
yeah.
Even like recently, there was another case I saw, an African American man just sitting in his car, completely still, not resisting by any means. They conducted an unlawful traffic stop because his headlights weren't on in the middle of the daytime when it was just a little gloomy out, you know. And they completely broke his window, punched him in the face a couple times, and beat him on the floor. Like, I don't know how people are defending this, mind you.
I watched that. I saw that
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's disgusting, and it's through every single branch of our government. It's through everything. The people who enforce the laws, the people who exercise the laws.
Before we wrap up, to be mindful of everyone's time, talk to us a little bit about hopefulness that you have or if there is any hopefulness that you have, not just like the music scene, but just in general. Like, do you feel like your generation is going to hopefully be the one that kind of turns the tide a little bit?
Please help us.
We're relying on you.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll be our generation for sure, but maybe in the next coming generation or two, there will definitely be a rise again in not just the punk scene, but the music scene in general. Even in the local area, you know, that's starting to sprout back up around Rochester, Minnesota, you know? And it's great to see. I have hope, not a lot, but I am definitely wanting to have not even young music scene, just music scene. Just have it here and alive and not stuck behind a phone.
That's real also. Like Kendra and I, we didn't have cell phones when we were teenagers, or there wasn't YouTube to learn about all this stuff or find new bands. There wasn't Spotify. There wasn't the algorithm telling you what to listen to. It was just going out there and being a part of it, which seems to be coming back a little bit.
I guess not just within the scene, but like within the entirety of the United States. We're in a pretty not good time politically. Like, it's increasingly becoming more and more a country working for the billionaires and not for the people. But with all of that said, I do see more of a rise in leftism. At least I've been getting a little bit more involved in organizations like Workers Strike Back. Like, I've been keeping up to date with that stuff, but there's a socialist running for Senate, I think. I am just like hoping that eventually we get like more and more like left wing, not like Democrat or Republican, but like third party getting more of a voice in our government, because the two-party system is actually what is destroying us as a country, and also lobbying. Like, it makes it impossible to make any change for the people. From my view, I've been seeing a lot more people getting into Marxist theory and like all of that stuff, and like more left-wing stuff, and people are getting angry, which is good, and fighting back, which is definitely needed right now.
I think the lower the morale, not just as a country, but as a planet, I think the lower the morale, the more angrier the music becomes and the more stronger the message becomes. And I think that's what's contributing to my ideology of like the rise of punk scenes, alternative metal scenes. The way that we are now as a country specifically is going to be able to like push up the music higher and push up the morale after honestly what's been kind of bad lately. So I think it'll all come back hopefully soon.
Is there something specifically that either of you wish that like older punks or older kind of more weathered showgoers or music aficionados would understand and take more seriously and kind of take with them, that you think that would kind of improve like shows and music overall?
I guess accepting younger people into the scene and not just pushing them away because they're young and older people are smarter, but because that's not necessarily true all the time.
100% not.
Yeah. And staying open-minded to new concepts and different people.
Enough is a podcast centering on surviving abuse, harassment, and assault in the music scene. To help get the word out, please like and subscribe and share with your friends. In 2025, we are interested in talking to teachers, authors, artists, activists, counselors, community organizers, and anyone else who is dedicated to making a positive impact in their music community and our society as a whole. If that sounds like you, please reach out to us at thisisenoughpodcast@gmail.com.